is going to be our third and final map between these two teams. Lion is the very first ban from Space Station.
Ooh, Maverick again.
And Glaz gets taken out from SK. I think they realize how incredibly good Glaz is on this map in particular.
Rampy's been doing a pretty good job of it, so.
Rampy's been doing well on Glaz, but more importantly, I would say, it's also the fact that Glaz is good on the map.
Oh, absolutely. That's going to be a factor as well. Maybe why they didn't ban it earlier was like, this map, it's okay. This one, yeah, you definitely don't want to leave Glaz. This is the question, will we see the Clash ban? And Maverick's still being allowed here in. Of course, they can't do anything about that now, so I don't think that's hugely impactful, though.
This is where they're boxed in, though.
Yeah.
They know that if they don't ban Clash, Mirror becomes available. They know that if they ban Clash, Mirror becomes available. They know that if they ban Clash, that Maestro is going to get run a ton. So what are they going to do? I wouldn't be surprised. Roll the die on Clash, ban the Mirror. Probably a smart idea, and that's exactly what's going to happen.
Oh,
so now we have the very
go.
first match where both of the new operators are going to be able to get trotted out. And what's going to happen with Clash? We're about to find out on our first map where she is not banned. And is she going to be an instant pick? SSG not bringing her out.
6-pick.
Could possibly 6-picker. That would be
unless they just don't have strats for it, thinking it's going to get banned all the time.
If you 6-pick her, then obviously there's going to be a surprise waiting. But she has a couple counters. There's a frag grenade, there's the asphyxiating bolt, and then of course Nyx's ability to disorient her. But it's a castle that's going to be the 6-pick. And for the first time, Mint is going to play the Twitch, and I swear, Kyle, if you don't pick the SK skin, I'm gonna lose it.
Yeah, no, he will.
Lose it.
He better do it. Well,
lose it.
so make sure, Marcio, once we get into the attack side, we need to spectate that.
Marcio, I want you on Twitch immediately.
I will be solo casting this if he's not running it, so you
I
better
will literally take my headset off and I will leave. I won't actually do that. I won't literally do that. Anywho, first defense here. We're gonna go down to kitchen. Now, of course, SK basically boxed Space Station at that point where they had to ban the Mirror. There really wasn't much of an option.
They're also not going to run Maverick, so.
Yeah, there's no Maverick and there's no Clash. We also could be looking at a situation where they're just so new that teams haven't fully adapted strategies.
And I feel like that was the case with Chala. I feel like he was just trying to kind of figure it out as he went, and I think he had some good uses of it.
He did pretty well on a number of sites, but I mean, I also think that we're still very much in the infancy of these two operators.
From what I've heard, though, it seems like the Clash, on the other hand, doesn't feel like one where it's like a case of like, oh, we're just not practicing with it. It seems like there's going to be a lot of potential abuse of using Clash from some teams if it's not banned. So I do think that's going to be the case. Maybe even coming in some later rounds here, but we'll see how far SK is able to get. If they're able to do another 5-0 before the switch, then might not see a ton of play from SK on defense, but either way.
Didn't even get to see if the weapon skin was on, by the way. Switching the F2 way too fast. There we go.
Is it?
I can't actually tell.
Yeah.
I can't actually tell. I
wow,
don't think it is.
All that time talking about it, you can't even be sure.
I can't even tell. Maybe I'm blind.
Well, it's not the shark skin, so maybe there's a chance it's it. Because everyone else runs that shark skin since the beginning of the game.
The shark skin's pretty nice.
It's one of the few skins from the game's release that still gets run.
There is a shocking lack of team skins overall, though. You could have been running the rogue buck skin there, but no, I don't think that's the SK skin.
Well, goodbye, Intero.
Goodbye. I have to leave now. Anywho, SK have already been able to take control of Sunrise Bar. There you've got the Twitch of Mint was positioned over by the delivery door. That's where Redeemer's going to be situated. He's got 2 shock drones. It looked like one might have been lost, so you have another shock drone available there as well. Brian is running the FMG, so instead of relying on that environmental destruction that you can possibly have, no, he's running the new seasonal skin. That's the checkered police skin.
That's nice.
But look at that, Brian running the new liquid skin, and he's going to be the first one taken out of action, but traded off by a Redeemer. That's hot and cold dropped. So they'll trade a buck. Pretty good utility for a smoke, even better utility. If I'm taking that trade, that's pretty good for me if I'm SK. You've been able to take Brian out of the fight. Now Mint just needs to harass the Maestro, knowing that you've probably done your due diligence with that Twitch drone to take out the gadgets you need.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if the Maestro Redeemer is able to stay alive a bit longer now that they know where he's at. They can start pressuring a bit more. But he also has the ability to at least fight some long angles back himself. Then there's a nice pickup by Nyx there, doing some serious damage through that drone hole. Might he be able to? He does get to finish it. What was going through your head thinking, Nade? Thinking not happening so much that time as he exposed himself.
Not thinking Nade there for sure.
Just Nade.
Chala through the smoke is able to get a kill on Pojo Man. He'll toss the C4 up from above him, but there you can hear the pair of Jarvis as Redeemer falls, and it's just Rampy and Chala trying to get back to site. Chala's going to make some successful work of it, though, and then Ping's coming in, but Chala right now absolutely on fire. That's going to leave Jarvis's last man up, and Space Station, who haven't been able to get around victory in the last 6, looking very close to being able to capitalize this time. They've only got 15 seconds left, and Jarvis is just getting pinged non-stop. They're going to have no info here as he goes to plant, though. Jarvis will fall off trying to bait one out, but he knows that they're just going to play time. That's all he needs to do, and Chala, who was so good in the courtyard, able to pick up 3 big kills to lock out that round. That's got to be a motivator for Space Station to be able to take a round after having lost so many time and time again. That's a good start for them here on Coastline.
Yeah, it was good to see Jarvis back on the Capital, but unfortunately not super impactful that round. I don't think that was the worst attack, as they managed to get some good early picks, especially with Nyx getting that pick through the drone hole, but they were not able to really capitalize it into much of a big push. As you saw them get kind of pushed back once they tried to actually pressure on the site. Although at least he was able to get into a point where he could plant, but without any teammates, what can you do? It was just good trades back and forth, and Chala just coming out in that courtyard. And that courtyard's usually considered a little bit of a death trap to an extent because it's so exposed, but if you've already reduced down the number of attackers and you have at least a good amount of intel, I mean, obviously he had intel because he put up cameras, you can capitalize on that and take advantage of some good flanks you can make if you can rotate that. And that is something that is difficult to do on this map. They pulled it off, and well played to them on their first defensive round, so they have broken that 6-round curse.
Ended up getting a 4K and all said and done, so yeah, as you said, that courtyard can be a death trap, but that's usually because you can commit 1 or 2 people to possibly watch as you try to make it out of the courtyard. He was able to just continuously dance his way to freedom, and well, Space Station needed a win. They got it. They'll head back to defense, of course, but
still no Clash Maverick.
And I would be surprised. I think part of the reason why Space Station was content with banning Clash over and over again was because they probably don't run her. They were anticipating that SK would. And if there's a team in North America that's probably going to be running Clash,
5 seconds.
It's probably going to be SK.
Yeah, and we won't see that for at least a few more rounds here before they switch sides. So we'll never know. But Space Station, at least we're comfortable running Maverick, so at least they have one half of the equation there. But either way, we're going to see a similar attack lineup again from SK. Something you mentioned earlier, and something I mentioned during Pro League as well, is they just run that very consistent attacker lineup, which helps for when you don't know what bomb site it's going to be, especially on maps like this, and even Consulate now that have 4 viable bomb sites. Potentially, you don't know where you're going to be attacking. You got to bring all that utility and be prepared. They have a lot of utility on this attacker lineup. We aren't going to see them ever really go with Thermite, even when it's not banned. They're just, as you mentioned earlier, Tabata is so much that you can rely on it to an extent. So they're definitely going to do exactly that.
SK does run a Thermite from time to time, but it's very rare. And that's why SK is able to ban Thermite the way they do and really cause a lot of heartache, or heartburn rather, or headache, or heartache.
Either way,
it all works together. I mashed the idioms again. I shouldn't be doing that, but I did it. It ends up giving a headache to certain teams. And of course, having that flexibility with the hard breachers is very important. But as you said, a lot of utility right now for SK. I really like what they can bring to the table here. And Nyx is going to be a particular focal point for me. Just one of those jammers got zip-zapped. I don't know if that was Redeemer with the possible Evil Eye. Yes, it was. And he'll lose the Evil Eye. Gives its position away. They've got a very small window in towards the site. And just in case, boom, they're able to take out. It looks like both Evil Eyes now should be gone, and that's going to be a breath of fresh air for the attackers.
Still going to put Redeemer on that powerful gun, though, which is not exactly easy at that point. But at least Brian's still alive at this point, which means Smoke can do his work, so that's good in terms of slowing things down. Not to mention they have the C4 from, let's see, no, is that? No, I'm sorry, Brian is on Valkyrie this time.
They got Thinking Nade on Smoke, which is what they were running. They were running Thinking Nade on Smoke for Villa as well. It worked out quite well. So they had Brian playing on the more roam-friendly of Alibi. But look at that, a cutoff from Jarvis as Redeemer gets taken out, and Mint's going to jump in too. There's a minute left, so early fragging for SK as they're trying to beat this clock. And Pojo getting the plant off. There's no information provided, and this is a great opportunity for SK to just lock it down. Jarvis will pick up his 2nd kill. Chala will have to get back to site. It's just him and Thinking Nade, but there's no control of site here whatsoever. Nyx taking out Chala, and Thinking Nade is last man left. He spies the big window. He's positioned himself in penthouse over top of the hatch, but there's an asphyxiating bolt on top of the diffuser. A Gubine will get triggered, and there's a call for Thinking Nade, but there's just too many angles for him to cover. Jarvis able to work inside of VIP. He'd fallen off of the big window, and that's a good rotate. Good call
Yeah, some great plays by him, I think, absolutely. That's why I like to see him back on that cap tower and operator. He plays very well, just like we saw with Vigil earlier. Sometimes some players just have some good signature ops, and that definitely worked out for them in that round. It also worked out that they were able to take out those Evil Eyes. You mentioned that earlier it wasn't a big deal at the beginning, but once they took those out, they were able to get the plant off without any intel spotting that. And I think losing the Evil Eyes actually did, I'd say, make an impact in that sense, because they snuck that plant in. Because it looked like the defenders were really just like, okay, let's bring them into us. We'll bait them in, and we'll try and fight those fights. But by the time they got to that point, couldn't do much.
They still had Brian on Valkyrie, so where were your placements of those black eyes? Because you should at least probably have one in the site, unless you're just relying on that Evil Eye to be the only thing in sight.
That was probably the case. I mean, the problem with putting black eyes in sight, if Dokkaebi was in play, of course, is you can lose those. Same with the Maestro's Evil Eyes. So teams might get used to not doing that, but Dokkaebi's not being run anymore so much. So
no, we actually haven't seen Dokkaebi at all today.
No.
That's a pretty big fall off. We also haven't seen Lion today, but he's been banned in every single game.
No one likes Lion.
Very difficult there, and you know, I'm taking the G2 route of just perma-banning him every single time. Space Station, I think, knows. But there are also teams that don't always run Lion. We know that SK does. So, I mean, that's a pretty fair ban.
I think that's going to have to get a little trickier, though, as people get better at Maverick. I think it's going to be a little bit harder to decide who to ban in terms of attackers.
Yeah, there's no guaranteed bans outside of maybe Miro right now that I think people need to be concentrating on.
Yeah.
Maybe Lion will get to that point. I'm not entirely certain, but doesn't really matter. Though Mint is running the F3 charm. Oh, okay, so there you go.
Well, there's that.
There's that, for sure. Jarvis only runs the Canadian charm. Should let everybody know. But anywho, a lot of utility being brought from SK Gaming yet again. They're going to run the same lineup they did last time. It worked out well. They were able to lock the round out and, you know, got all 5 kills without losing a single body. We're going to see if they're able to change up their strategy this time, because that big window pressure and presence was instrumental to SK, but they also then had Nyx inside of VIP along with the Hibana. Once they were able to take care of the Evil Eye, SK had or Space Station Gaming had no control whatsoever. They were basically pushed back over by the side of theater and then in the hallway surrounding it. And that's a bad and tough spot for you to be in.
Yeah, they're not really doing much to contest VIP, at least not last round. It doesn't look like much this round either. And I think that is a mistake. Letting them control VIP like they did was able to help them push along with the big window into kind of a pinch position onto Penthouse. And because they just couldn't really push back into the Penthouse room itself, they were stuck in theater. And it looks like the same thing's potentially happening in this round.
Yeah, we could be seeing SK doing the exact same strat. You've got 2 good drones being kept alive there. That's good drone economy, as we like to call it. The same opening is going to be brought out here on the main wall. And I mean, Nyx's launcher is able to take both of the Evil Eyes down with those explosives. So that can be a good trade for Zophia's utility. You can also hear the Evil Eyes, so placed in different positions this time around.
Yeah, unfortunately, they didn't take away one of the grenade ones, so still going to be able to clear those out pretty easily.
Yeah. They also do have the grenades from Buck as well, so if Houghton needs to, he can possibly use those.
No sledge, but
they'll burn the ADS, and look at that. Pojo could possibly go for a repel in, but Brian from below, this is going to be a difference maker for Space Station. You've got Brian now possibly anticipating a plant in the same corner that's as close to a default spot as you're going to get in that site. He's got a C4 with Pojo Man's name on it.
He's got to be careful, though. He's been dying early a lot, so he's going to need to stay alive to actually make that happen.
Houghton's going to get the first kill on a Redeemer, and now Brian expecting somebody to push in through delivery. That's Mint. Rampy will get a kill on a Nyx, so at least SSG will have a counter punch, but there goes the diffuser down, and as Brian tries to get the C4, not able to do it fast enough. Mint gets the kill, and look at Space Station Gaming. 3 bodies left, and all 3 of them just a careless whisper away from the grave. You got Thinking Nade, Chala, and Rampy, who are basically one shot at any point in their body. SK just needs to simply hold angles, and that's exactly what they're doing. Don't overpeak. Don't push it. Wait for them to march into your line of sight. Pojo and Jarvis with 1 apiece. Where's going to be the last one? Chala will get a kill on the Jarvis, but these are impactless. Sees the diffuser, pre-fires into the corner, but Hot and Cold to drop through the hatch, and Bathroom is there waiting, ready and willing. Chala has no opportunity to get back to sight. Matthew Stevens finished the round.
Such a strong start on this map from SSG, but that was on one particular bomb site. They have just been decimated twice on Penthouse. Something tells me Penthouse not a good bomb site for SSG, at least in this current setup. See the concentration there from Nyx, as well as the rest of the team actually pretty happy at the moment, so he maybe needs to crack a smile or two, get into the groove of things here. They're clearly enjoying it, something they don't get to play a lot of lands together, so this is a team building exercise for them, but they're going to go back to the bomb site that worked for them, Kitchen here from SSG. If they can defend it again successfully a second time, at least they'll come away with 2 points before the switch.
I'm a bit confused as to the way that SSG stacked up that second defense, right?
Stacking seems to be their theme.
They didn't really put any bodies inside of hookah. They didn't really pay much attention at all to Aqua or to Billiards. SK was able to stash drones for flank watch, but they didn't need to use them because there's no flank that was coming. There was a concerted effort to just simply lock down Penthouse. And then you hinge almost all of your plant denial on Brian playing from below. And where has Mint been entering from? It's been entering from delivery.
And he opened the door and he knew it was coming.
And Brian suspected it. And you could see Brian was trained down his sights, working around the corner, but then the call was made that the plant was going off. Brian had to try to get into the bathroom as quickly as he could, use that C4 to his advantage, missed, and then as he was trying to exit the bathroom, well, you've given yourself away at that point.
Yeah.
Ultimately, for SSG, either it was a failure in terms of communication, or it's just a singular focus on their defense. You cannot invest that heavily just inside a theater. You need to keep bodies and presence in either VIP or Penthouse.
You know what I'm noticing then is a theme between this map and console, especially as map control is not something SSG are doing well. On their attacks, they're not taking a lot of map control. On their defenses, they're giving over most of the map control to the attackers and not contesting most of the sites. They did the exact same thing on console, and that is really working against them on both these maps. And unless they change that, I honestly do think SK can come out pretty ahead on this.
Now, keep in mind that the attackers should be running it up on Coastline.
Yeah.
First and foremost, if you are new to Coastline, your primary focus is win your attacks. If you can walk away with 3, well, that's not the greatest. You probably want to try to take 4. It is suspected that Kitchen could possibly be in favor of the defenders. And look at this, Mint able to spot the Jaeger and just loses his drone, but possibly expecting Rampy to jump up. No, but they'll waste one of the projectiles to open up that hatch. Nyx will catch Rampy as they drop and just missed. I believe it was Chala who dropped previously. And once again, that map control already slipping away for Space Station. But Chala, who was so good last time around on the Valkyrie, playing outside of the courtyard, able to snatch the round, is doubled up with Thinking Nade on those stairs heading to the main lobby. Just patiently waiting.
Well, they're going to have to do something here to push back a little bit because SK may have only gotten 1 kill, but they have a lot of map control here again above the bomb site. However, there's a nice trade back by Thinking Nade doing some work.
Excellent tag team coordination. Now Chala into luggage almost manages to get a kill of his own, which would have cracked things open for Space Station. That UMP is not a particularly formidable gun, but look at Houghton is in. Can he go for the second? A nice double for Hot and Cold as he sustains 25 damage, but that buck absolutely clobbers everyone. And that's just Space Station now with 2 bodies. 1 minute left, good timing for SK, and I fear for Space Station. Now you do have a Maestro and a Smoke, so still 2 good operators to have in the closing stretch.
Well, good to see Brian back on that Smoke instead, though. Maybe that'll work out for them this round.
You still got the buck to be able to terrorize you from above. Kitchen, of course, you don't have to really worry about a hatch, but there's still tons of destructibility for you to focus on. Redeemer, as the Maestro, is playing in the main lobby, and I think they've been able to determine that if you can circle him, you can pin him down. Now, the Aldo might be able to take 1 body out first. He's just going to creep by, and there you go. The gun barrel was spotted from Mint. Did he not see it?
I guess.
I am surprised Mint saw the gun barrel for just a second.
Oh, no.
This could possibly get really hairy, but there it is. Mint gets the call, Hot and Cold, with a nice 3K in the middle of the round, and SK. 3K, SK, 3-1.
Unfortunate for SSG, that was their 1 good bomb site. Now they're either going to have to try and do it again, or they're going to be a case where they're going to have to go to a 3rd bomb site, because Penthouse is definitely not working out for them. There's Slash, you may recognize it, along with Ranger there. Is this the kiss cam? There we go. There it is. There it is.
There it is.
Never one to disappoint. Thanks, Slash.
Thank you.
All right, back to
Spence.
kitchen.
Thanks, Spence.
Spence.
Thank you, Spence. Back to the kitchen.
Now
we can, no, back to kitchen this site. Now, the thing with kitchen is that if SSG is able to walk out of this down 3-2, because they've already lost the first stretch.
Yeah.
If they can walk out of it 3-2,
it's not bad.
That's winnable.
Yeah.
That is doable for you when you now go on to attack.
It's not a 6-0
possibly,
at least.
and yeah, well, nothing's quite a 6-0 except a 6-0. But
that's true.
If SK can take 4 away from you, that 1 round is a huge difference maker.
Yeah.
That's really big, because it means that you failed on your rotation on every opportunity except for 1 time, and then even if they only win 1 or 2, because it is doable for teams to win 2 rounds on Coastline defense, depending on the way they play it. And I would say that a lot of times SK, I don't want to say this because then somebody's going to correct me with stats, but I feel like on certain maps, SK really shines on defense. this is one of the few maps where if there's a team that's going to be able to pull it out on defense, you know, there's a number of them. I have faith that SK could possibly take 2 rounds on defense, and if they can win 4 right now, that's going to put them in win territory.
I absolutely think so, especially considering what I said about SSG just not having the map control. I think that's potentially the case here. I do feel like the roam was a bit better last round, and I think if they could pull off a similar ability, for example, Chala able to stay alive for a while longer, Redeemer may be able to play off site like he was last time as well, they might be able to pull it off, but they've got to be able to get more picks early on when the attack is trying to take map control, because you can't deny map control against 5 people forever, right? Like, yeah, you can hold them off, you can maybe stay alive on your own, but if you don't get any kills out of it, or at least burn a lot of time out of it, you don't get much out of it doing that.
And I hate to harp on it because it does, if you just simply listen to us over the last map and a half, you'd think that Space Station hasn't done anything well. Well, that's not really true. I mean, I think SK has been able to outmatch them in most stretches here. And one of the things that's been working so well in SK's favor that I haven't been able to really see from Space Station's end of things is the drone work and communication. How many times have we seen that drones are still alive in the final 20 seconds for SK? Well, they're stashing drones quite well and making those calls to push together. That's netting them kills, free kills, right at the start of rounds.
It's because Redeemer can't play on his Echo.
Well, I don't think he's that one-dimensional. Nyx actually looked like he almost got a kill right now. I'm thinking Nate is prone inside of outside of theater. Nyx is just in the Hall of Fame, shooting all the way through penthouse. And, well, there's going to be a fall-off. Thinking Nate is now playing by the slightly less pregnable wall that's there. Not going to get shot through the couch. Looked like he was going to go for an escape, but he'll peek. That is ill-advised. And Houghton is there, the 2 cousins, able to work together, and Thinking Nate will be the first one down. Now, Castle is, of course, your least utility-based operator that is left alive. You know, his armor panels are already going to be down. That's not that big of a loss.
No, but it definitely, I mean, the UMP is a good gun. It's good to have him left alive on site. And there's 2 drones down there, so things are turning back for SSG because they get 2 drones and a kill. I mean, you mentioned the drone economy earlier and how well they're doing with it. They're starting to retain some of that map control I was talking about. So I think this is starting to at least shift a little bit in their favor. Could possibly see this round go to them if they could maybe turn it into 1 or 2 more picks before the actual push has to happen.
This is probably the best time management that we've seen from Space Station in about a map and a half as well. A minute left, and SK really hasn't been able to actually get a push off on the site. Rampy and Redeemer, who have been doubled up now, as Rampy falls off and lets Redeemer die, isn't able to secure a trade. That could have been a really big swing in favor of SSG. But what you've done now is you've lost your Maestro and the powerful Alda. Rampy still could possibly get a nice flank here, and there we go. Nobody watching for him, but no, he gets out-dueled by Nyx. And Rampy loses a gunfight he should have easily had. This is going to leave Brian and Chala as the 2. Anticipating an asphyxiating bullet goes in. Brian will also sustain some damage from a frag grenade. And Chala just waiting to see somebody from the front door. That MPX is low damage, but he gets a kill. Could we see yet again Brady get the clutch? Brian is down, so it's all up to the Valkyrie, and they'll have to go for the plant, but getting pinged away. Chala can shut this down. He's got the marks. Can he be able to get Pojo Man? Chala, what a clutch for the second time. That should have been SK winning it, but unable to find the Valkyrie for the second time on Kitchen. SSG manages walking out of that split with at least 2 rounds, keeping that gap close.
Well, we're going to have Space Station taking a pause here to go, let's keep Chala alive longer. He seems to be able to clutch these now. So either way, though, they are going to be switching sides, and this is when we're seeing them use these pauses now. It seems to be more and more common to use it on the side switch because maybe you're less focused in terms of like, okay, we got to keep doing our rounds and our rounds and our rounds and focus on what we're, what the previous round was. Now this is more of a mental shift to figure out like, okay, this is the halftime. This is where we recollect ourselves. This is where we start really looking at overall thematically, what are we doing wrong? What are we doing right? What can we exploit in their play to go into this, because of course, 1 map to either team. This is the decider map. This is where they cannot afford to drop it. And so far, because of the way things have worked out, SSG are on the back foot here, coming in with only 2 rounds. However, as you mentioned, 2 rounds on defense is not a bad place to be. That's still a pretty good start. Some excited fans up there showing off their jerseys.
What I was going to say is a bit of a mistake for SK to plant in service.
Yeah.
If they had planted in kitchen, there's not that soft wall for them to have to be able to shoot through. I just don't think they knew where Chala was.
Yeah,
it looked like for the team that I was complimenting for how good their coordination and communication had been, I don't think that they were aware of the position of the Valkyrie. And
should have been somewhat predictable. They were playing fairly heavily in that lobby, and he just killed someone in the doorway.
I mean, it could have been a simple rotate trying to go back into kitchen. Who knows? But unfortunately for SK, they just planted in a spot where they were very, very vulnerable.
Do you think it was also due to the Evil Eyes being able to call things out, even though Redeemer's dead at that point?
It depends on where the Evil Eyes were situated. I didn't see one in server or in the server/delivery area.
Yeah.
Could have just simply been the Valkyrie cameras because they've been running so information heavy, right?
Yeah.
Spacestation Gaming has been running a Valkyrie almost every round.
Obviously, your dead. Well, the nice thing is your dead teammates can actually rotate those cameras, unlike the Evil Eyes. So there's, those might have even been more impactful than the Evil Eyes.
No Maverick and no Clash to start things off on this second split as we'll head into round number 6. SK Gaming with the lead. Now, the fact that Spacestation kept it close bodes well for them. Coming out of a coastline on defense, only losing 2, not bad, especially when you just lost, every single attack on console.
Yeah, it's gonna feel a little bit better. However, we could see some cheeky spawn peeks here from Jarvis to try and set things off at the very beginning. It doesn't look like he gets it though, unfortunately.
Mistimes himself, so he'll give himself away for just a second.
Well, that's fine. He knows how to roam. He'll be fine.
He'll be okay as the doc. This is something that SK has done well in the regular season, is they use those deployable cams and they keep the ACOGs on long lines of sight. Jarvis, of course, getting an ace on bank and sitting at the top, playing that same doc/rook combo with the ACOG. Yeah, I mean, it can definitely work for them, so.
If you got it, flaunt it. Well, we'll see them doing at least some good droning here. It looks a little repetitive and maybe slightly uncoordinated from Redeemer, as he maybe needed to double check a little bit, but nonetheless, they are at least getting some good intel to start with. However, they need to, again, get that map control fairly quickly, something they've not been doing the greatest on, and leaving too many roamers alive. Like, I can imagine Jarvis living probably longer than he should here on this roam.
Yeah, so we'll see how much map control SSG can possibly manage to net, and Asphyxiating Bolt is gonna miss its target, so for the time being, Rampy's going to use one of his darts. They're just trying to flush out Penthouse or Theater, rather, and there you go. Jarvis will give himself away, and he was pinned down and just essentially a dead man. At that point, if you can possibly take one person with you, that's a benefit, but who knows?
He knows what those Capital boats do, though.
Yeah, if anybody's going to understand how to use Capital, it's going to be Jarvis on SKs. That's typically the one that he runs the most. Look at this nice coordination of skins for the teams. Hot and cold situated on Cool Vibe stairs. There's your exothermic charge that's going to go off. It's going to open up the wall, and that's going to give a direct line of sight right to the billiards table. And that's going to be Redeemer now falling off. He's been doing a good job, not just frag getting, but also playing the utility of Heart Breachers, and then also IGLing. So a lot of weight on his shoulders, and he's been performing well. But look at this. I think SSG realizes they need to try to push through luggage, get that presence there. That's where Rampy's going to head to. But for the time being, they're not really doing a ton of drone work. This is basically them just pushing out blind, as it only looks like there's 1 or 2 drones in action for SSG at the moment.
Yeah, it does seem like a little bit of a mistake. Yeah, they did manage to get Jarvis, but I can see Nick's managing to pull this angle off here because of them not doing that drone work. Here's the, oh, nope, just can't land the shot fast enough. It does plenty of damage. There we go.
Great recoil control to be able to take out Rampy, but gets traded off by Thinking Nade. So they're able to take out the Alda, and then of course the 2 Evil Eyes will be locked in place as said before, so that was a good trade-off for them, and Thinking Nade is able to walk away. Of course, some Toxic Babe is going to be inhaled, as they just need to shut down a possible push into Aqua, and that's exactly what Pojo's doing. He's going to do great work, takes out 2, pulls out his shotgun, and reminiscent of a lot of famous smoke plays that we see here. Redeemer off screen will take out Hot and Cold and leaves us in the final 10 seconds. Brian just sprints right in. Last man left is Mint. He's playing on Cool Vibe stairs, tries to get back to sight, but Redeemer is there to swiftly end that, and we're all tied up.
Well, good comeback here from SSG. Now they tie things up. And it was unusual to see who could be the first bomb site. That is definitely not one that's usually preferred a lot by teams, but SK are known for playing a lot of the offsites and doing different things, so not a huge surprise, but it definitely did not work out. Despite the lack of drone work, they were able to push, I would say, at least somewhat consistently forward. It's unfortunate Nyx wasn't able to find 2, did get traded on his kill, but at least he got that 1 kill, and I think that could have been a game changer for them. They just were not able to capitalize on it, but we'll see how they do downstairs, if they're able to defend this as well as Space Station did, because this was the only site SSG was able to successfully defend. So.
And of course, Kitchen is usually going to be the site where if you're on defense and you're winning, you probably should be winning there.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
But either way, obviously, if they win it, they're still going to have to rotate off of it. But bringing this back to a tie is a good position for SSG. As you mentioned, coming off of the 6-0 on Consulate, they're going to need all the confidence they can get. Well, I mean, that feels good, right? You come out of a tactical pause to get a win. Makes you feel like you're having the right discussion there.
Interesting strategy as well to start off Hookah for SK. Not usually the site that you see play. If I am correct in my in the numbers that I have seen, Hookah often has the lowest pick rate of all the sites. Typically isn't favored by a lot of teams. Bold to go there first. Maybe just see if your strategy can possibly work out or not. Of course, losing an ACOG early on, it's not really going to help you, especially when they're trying to play that long angle the way that the dock was.
Now, I feel like the two bars, Blue and Sunrise, are not necessarily a favorite in NA. It seems to be played a bit more in, say, Latin America or EU. So it's not a huge surprise to not see it yet here, but I do wonder if maybe we'll see that as the third bomb site from SK. You know, so seeing as they might not want to go to Penthouse. We saw how hard Penthouse is to defend, especially without Mira, and that's the case here. So if I was SK, I would go for that for my third bomb site if they can potentially win these two bombs. Now, of course, they lost Hookah, so they could have gone to it again, but I can understand why they didn't want to go back there. A nice camera set up for a potential peek out there. Actually, Redeemer, had he fallen for that and approached, he might actually got caught off guard by that black guy, but his careful peeking in this window, and they saw what happened on Consulate with all those windows. So Redeemer, being much smarter, learned his lesson.
I think Houghton does hear that there's one that's crossed below him, but isn't going to possibly go for it. There was a drone there that was positioned that could possibly see that double window, and that, I mean, at that point, if you toss your Valkyrie out, yeah, you might get a pretty big kill, but at the same time, you could possibly end up paying for it. You hear a Claymore get set down over by that service door as well, so there won't be a run out there unless they waste some utility, and then there you go. Brian's going to put down his own Claymore. A lot of times we will see Zophia's running the breaching charges so that they can possibly blow up the ground. Just give you a bit more of that vertical presence, but usually do that in lieu of a buck or a sledge.
Yeah, in this case, they obviously have that buck, as you see there, doing some good work from there. They're also bringing the Thermite, something we don't really see, as you mentioned, from SK earlier. So actually going to have Redeemer on Thermite instead of Chala. He's actually going to be running the Thatcher, I believe. So that's a little bit of a change-up, but I do again, like thinking Nate on Buck. I think he's a very good one. However, Jarvis going down early. Nice early kill there.
Yeah, so that's crucial, and that's the second time now that Jarvis has been killed early on as the Jaeger this time. He'll be roaming, so the Carbine is really good. Also saw a dramatic reduction in the amount of recoil over the changes to the sight alignment fix that just happened in the recent patch, so that Carbine is back to being indisputably one of the best weapons on defense.
Absolutely, it's a good one. Still no ACOG on it, but
you don't need to bring that up for the people who want it. We get it. We get it, all right? But all the destruction going on above the smoke of Pojo Man. And as you said, thinking Nate, that good buck player. Now, way back when the team used to have King Leo on it, he was a tremendously skilled buck. Pojo realizing that I think that shotgun is just going to simply be outclassed by the C8. Also a reduction in its recoil. So the C8 is much easier to control, much more manageable. But an asphyxiating bolt from Rampy will possibly cut off a push from Bathroom, but it'll be met with a Toxic Beauty from Smoke. Now he's going to put in his smoke grenades, and Capitao is going to try to just simply cut off any possible push. He'll toss all of his concussants, stun grenades in, my apologies. Rampy gets a kill as he does it just himself, walks right in, but Houghton, no! Houghton a team kill! He takes out Nyx. I don't know what Houghton was expecting before Rampy punishes him, and last man left is Mint. Spacestation Gaming being able to counterpunch quite well now on their attack. Ring around the rosy here, just pings going out over and over again. Can Mint be able to outduel Spacestation Gaming in a 1v4? Well, he'll start with Redeemer. He's got 3 more to go and about half of the timer to deal with. But just as SK did last time around, they just need to hold their angles. Brian will peek just a little bit. Mint will give himself away as he just goes through that main doorway in the lobby, but we're about to hit the point of no return here on the diffuser. 2 more sites for him to deal with. And from above, thinking Nade, that buck who never left his perch will give Space Station the first lead since round number 1.
Well, it was good to see that with Glassband, Rampy was able to play something else very effectively on that Capitao, so definitely doing some good work there for his team. And as you mentioned, the first lead for SSG puts them in a good position here because, as you mentioned earlier, this is an attacker-sided map. However, they've already gotten 2 of the potential 3 if it goes to a similar pattern of a 3-2 situation, in which case they would come out ahead still, I believe. Or, see, no, mathematically, I think that would even it up. So, we'll see. Kitchen going to be tried again. This, both teams wanting to eke out a win on that site at least. Well, I guess have to wait a little bit longer, potentially to see a 3rd bomb site. Although, of course, if they win Kitchen, they can just go back to Hookah if they want instead. There we go. Now, Jarvis had been struggling on his early plays, and not going to the Vigil and having Hot and Cold do it instead seems like confusing to me, just because he's so effective on Vigil at staying alive and not overplaying it. However, this is such a difficult map to roam on in general that maybe this is just a case where it just doesn't work out very well for him, but I do hope that Hot and Cold's going to play it well at least.
I mean, Hot and Cold is probably the best fragger on SK Gaming in terms of aim, in terms of his ability to get kills. You know, he will routinely run it up on attack and on defense, playing those 3-speed operators that are renowned for getting kills. Putting him on Vigil is fine. You know, the biggest issue that they've had on defense so far is that Jarvis has been pinched early in 2 rounds. Now, either they're not giving him enough guidance/support, and they're just sticking him on a solo roam where he's picked off quite easily, because you can see Space Station is doubling and even tripling up on him.
And that's the thing, though, is like most other maps, he can roam very, very well, but this map is so hard to roam on that it's not surprising. And without another roamer paired with him, it is very, very difficult to roam solo on this map.
Or if you're roaming solo, but you have cameras, or you have a yokai drone. Of course, Echo is banned, so that's not going to be available. Possibly Evil Eyes. Like, there's gadgets that are available for the defenders to aid you on your roam. And I mean, if you're going to roam as potentially Doc, or you're going to roam as Jaeger, you need to be a bit more mobile and a bit more fluid. And both times Jarvis has gotten pinned down early and then finished off.
And I think part of the problem with that is, speaking of Maestros and Echoes and things like that, is Nyx has a tendency to not play on his gadget, right? He has a tendency to be playing on his ACOGs, either as Echo or as Maestro, which means if Jarvis were to play around the Evil Eyes, like maybe he should, to be able to get that intel support, then Nyx wouldn't be watching it for him.
This is a pre-fire through the wall from Nyx, as you were just speaking about him. He uses that silenced Alda, and Brian is there, but Hot and the Vigil will get found early on. 1 minute in, and SK will already find themselves on their heels as they will lose one. I had also been a bit critical of SSG's ability to drone effectively. We just got to see right there that there is indeed a drone being stashed from Space Station Gaming inside a courtyard to give the information that will look into the main lobby, and that will be crucial for them in the home stretch here, just to make sure that there's going to be no push that happens and no flank that could possibly go. I don't know if that EMP is going to net anything. It did roll back just a little bit, and an early smoke canister about halfway through the round being used to prevent Space Station Gaming from getting into the front door of kitchen. And look at that. There goes another Toxic Babe.
That is definitely way too early to be doing that, but they're really trying to make sure that the kitchen control can't happen, because he's pretty much defending kitchen solo, although finally getting some backup from Nyx there.
There goes the one smoke dart from Rampy. He's possibly still got those asphyxiating bolts at his disposal as well. And there's the final Toxic Babe. So you've baited out all 3 of those toxic canisters from the smoke of Pojo Man, and you've got a minute to go. But here was Nyx. You said, playing on that ACOG, he's going to take out Rampy. That's the Capitao. That's a lot of utility. The Zofia is still there, and Redeemer lying prone in Sunrise Bar through that soft wall. That's quite an angle he can hold. Also on Rappel is Thinking Nade. Possibly, if anybody decides to move through VIP, those defenders will be dead in an instant. Jarvis, though, staying alive. He'll take out Brian, and now it'll be Pojo doing good work. This is the first round where we've actually seen SK be able to get their footing. But here's Redeemer, just walks right in, 2 freebies, and now it's a 2v2 with Thinking Nade, and a round that surely should have gone for SK has slipped right through their fingers.
Some top-notch play by Redeemer on an operator that really shouldn't be able to play that aggressively.
It looks like Jarvis is blind as plant goes down, doesn't understand where Redeemer was able to get a plant off, gets the wrong call, and he'll sustain a lot of damage. One shot anywhere, and Redeemer, a huge round from Redeemer. How many times have we said this time and time again? And they're going to be on match point. This is what I said. If they could get 2 rounds on defense, here they are sitting on match point. They've locked SK out. SK have looked absolutely listless and really uncoordinated.
That look.
And on match point, SK is going to use their tactical timeout. Now,
seems like a good time, too.
I think it might be a bit too late. In the past, I've judged teams that use it right on the final round, because even if you use it, but you don't, it doesn't pay dividends right away, you usually have a round or 2 to try to regain your focus. But in this instance, they're using it in a do-or-die situation.
And in this situation, they really need to think about where can we successfully defend, because we haven't been able to pull off kitchen. Hookah was a complete bust. We're losing our roamers. Pretty much, we're just giving freebies to SSG, free early kills. That's putting them in a bad position towards the end. They do an okay job of defending the site, but you saw, for example, Pojo Man burning smokes too early. I think he did an okay job defending it as well. It's just the fact that they can't really... I mean, the similar problem to SSG had. They can't control the map on defense very well, and SSG are at least able to get in despite not always droning perfectly. They are able to get that early roam kill, and the fact that they're only dedicating 1 roamer, which is probably the right thing to do when they're not able to be effective at all and just giving free kills anyways, means they're able to take most of the map early, and it just comes down to those site fights.
Yeah. I mean, this is shaking out the way that we expected Coastline to do so.
Yeah. I mean, I do think there's a chance we could see it go the old, 3-2 again on the side and we end up in overtime.
The biggest problem for SK is that they've been unsuccessful on the 2 sites they've gone to. Kitchen is usually the surefire site where you should win, And SSG played it 3 times. They only lost it once.
Yeah, absolutely.
SK's played it twice now, and same thing. They haven't won it at all.
Well,
that's obviously a problem. So we'll head back in though to round number 9. Match point in favor of Space Station Gaming, looking to try and take the first victory in their bracket.
We'll see which bomb site they're going to here. I hope it's the bars. I think that would be Hookah. All right.
There's got to be a reason why SK seems to think that Hookah is the play.
It's not exactly the best bomb site on this map. There are advantages to it. Don't get me wrong. It's not a terrible bomb site, but I do think of all the bomb sites, I guess outside of Penthouse with no Mira, it suffers the most disadvantages.
The biggest problem that I think SK is going to have looking back on this is that there are 2 of these rounds where they should have won. The first 1v3 against Chala, and then also when they were going for the plant. Those were 2 rounds that were, I think, strongly in favor of SK. And then the round that just happened as well should have also been an SK victory. If those 3 rounds swap over, SK has now won this map. So those are 3 rounds that you let slip through your fingers, and SSG pounced upon. And because of great individual performances by Redeemer and by Chala twice, Space Station Gaming are now on match point themselves. So that individual effort and the lack of follow-through from SK could possibly be the reason why they fall out of Coastline and have to fight against, the loser of the BYOC Millennium match. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, though, I think SK are playing a great game. It's just SSG's seeming to finally step up here. And I just want to point again, we don't see Clash. They're not going to go for it.
No Clash and no Maverick. Jarvis is going to sustain a little bit of damage and get finished off by Brian. This reminds me of exactly what happened on Consulate. An early pick in the very final round on Consulate was essentially the death knell for SSG. We see the same thing happening on SK's side of things. They'll lose Valkyrie, which is funny because now Valkyrie is going to be just doing camera duty from the grave.
Well, at least Jarvis can do something now after dying. I think he was a bit more effective when he played further back and didn't roam as heavy in the previous round. I think that was a better play despite being such a good roamer. In this case, yeah, it definitely didn't work out, and that's a C4 off the board, but at least he brings some utility post-deaths with the cameras.
It's just to focus on Jarvis before we pivot here as we hit the final minute. He did very well on attack, but he's the opening death now for 3 of the 4 rounds on defense. That is something that has to be addressed by the team because you cannot consistently be getting found out. So either they need to keep a tighter roam or they need to be giving a bit more assistance at that point.
I think the assistance is the problem. I think the roamers are not playing a double roam that's effective. We saw, for example, teams like Orgless even having to go to 3-man roams just to be able to successfully roam on this map.
Hot and Will at least equalize, taking out Redeemer, the man who almost single-handedly won the previous round. That's your Thermite, so the sole Hard Breacher from Space Station is also gone. Now, a Hard Breacher on Hookah is not exactly the most important tool to have at your disposal. Thermite doesn't have the same fragging capabilities that Hibana does, but things about to get messy. 30 seconds left, and there you have it. Brian will take an engagement with Nyx and lose, but can they trade Nyx off? Yes, they can. Chala is there through the Aqua doorway, and now thinking they depletes that C8's magazine, but they're not able to find a kill. Rampy will use first asphyxiating bolt and now use the smoke, but below, keep in mind, Mint is playing with that cardiac sensor. He can stop the plant in its tracks, and boy, does he see a lot of those red marks. They're going to try to go for the plant on the pool table, but Pojo is there to take out Thinking Nade. Double down. Now Chala's last man up, and it should be an easy C4. Can he toss it up? No, but Houghton is there to do it, and SK will get their very first defensive victory. It comes at a great time on match point. Could we see overtime here? Well, SK is going to need to do what they just did one more time, and they're not going to be able to do it on Hookah. Sights locks.
Well, here we go. Another timeout here, this time from Space Station. Looking to say, why couldn't we lock that out? That should have been our rounds. We should be able to win this. But that was the primary bomb site for SK. That was the one that they were putting all their bets on, and it finally paid off. But maybe a little too late, as you mentioned earlier. Something they could have gone back to. So they lost the first time. They could have gone back to it immediately. The fact that they banked on Kitchen instead and that did not pay off put them in a bad position. They finally win Hookah, but guess where that puts them? Now they can't play Kitchen or Hookah. Now they have to go to a third bomb site because of the way things are set. Well, I'm sorry, no, what am I saying? They didn't win Kitchen, so they can play it again.
They can go to Kitchen if they want, but
yeah,
I would suspect, and here they, at the moment, have the double bars lined up, which I think is the right call. They can't go to Kitchen. Well, they could,
They
but
can.
they shouldn't go to
just can't,
kitchen
yeah.
because they haven't played all that well on it.
can't.
So roll the die, go to blue bar, go to sunrise bar, see how that works out.
That's
for
what I
you,
think
and
they should have done earlier.
shake it up. Amazing to see that they are completely bypassing the penthouse theater bomb site as well.
Well, you saw what happened to Space Station on it, and they just got destroyed. It's such a hard bomb site. It was the primary for so long. Teams have it figured out very, very well. And Space Station, for example, we're demonstrating how important VIP is, and that's a hard room to defend, especially when you have all these Capital players, right? Because one of the positions you can hold is hiding behind that bookcase. Capital takes that out very easily, even if you throw a Jaeger in there. So it's definitely it's a hard room to defend, and these two teams, it makes sense to not really play it.
5 seconds left before insertion.
So could we possibly see some overtime here? We don't know.
I think it's possible. I think there's definitely a strong
Heading out
chance.
to defuse a bomb.
We'll see though. It depends on if they goof this up or not.
Nick's looking to see if anybody's going to wander through the pool and use that ACOG available to him. That is a very bold play to make when you are sitting on match point.
Sometimes that's what you got to do. I mean, sometimes that's the wrong thing, but at the same time, an early pick like that can really... Sometimes teams can actually get more tilted by being on match point and not being able to take it. That can actually really frustrate you because you feel like you should have won already. Being able to get a team or a spawn peek after that actually can throw a bit of a psychological tilt on them.
So tons of utility available for Space Station Gaming as they're going to run a very similar lineup to what we just saw. Good fragging potential on those operators as well. Of course, Thatcher and Thermite are not exactly going to be your primary frag getters, but you've still got the Capital, the Buck, and the Zofia there with pretty good guns. The Para not exactly known as one of the better guns on attack, but hey, it can do the job in a pinch.
I think that the recoil for it was pretty much the same, but it was always fairly decent. I think it's a little more consistent after the change, but it's a good gun. It's just not a great gun.
I mean, and also your Capital shouldn't be the one getting frags. You should be, hanging back. You should probably, if you're going to be, working that support role, keeping yourself alive to get those asphyxiating bolts down.
He's
put
more
the
of a
fire
late game
arrows
op.
down. Yeah, late game op, absolutely. He's better in the push, but haven't really seen a lot of good zoning coming out from the Capital fire darts. Nyx could possibly get Redeemer here. I don't know if this might be a freebie for Redeemer.
Oh.
He just walks right by, and Redeemer's not going to bother to try and take that fight. He'll break the window instead and see if he can get the Maestro. A nice reflexive shot, and that's going to be Nyx walking away. Very lucky to live through that. Brian also in a position to have possibly jumped in.
A bomb has been located.
And they managed to push the Maestro off far enough that now the exothermic charge will blow open the wall from that foyer in towards Sunrise Bar. You've also got Rampy positioned from above. You can see the Maestro's worked up to Cool Vibe stairs, and if Nyx doesn't look, this could be an easy play. Space Station knew exactly what they were doing here on this site, but Thinking Nade will win the fight against Nyx. Chala, Thinking Nade, and Brian all very low on HP, but the only kill so far to show for this round is Space Station's as they took out Nyx.
Well, I like all the pings coming out to get some positions to play from above, but they're not turning those into kill through the metal beams. They need to take that pulse out to get a plant going.
There's Thinking Nade finished off from the end of the shotgun from Pojo, man. The smoke able to get the kill, and then Rampy sees one playing from above. That is Pojo, who's just trying to work with the shotgun, but it's tough to be able to get those shots through those metal railings. Rampy will find Pojo, man. That Perez we talked about earlier on. Good vertical control from Rampy to be able to see that. Redeemer's going to take out Jarvis too, but I mean, hey, Space Station look like this going to go their way. And they're going to try to lock it out. But Houghton is still there. Keep in mind, he will still have a C4 available. Mint takes out Redeemer, but Houghton runs in, gets the wrong call. It's going to be all up to Mint. He's going to take down another, and this is exactly where your Scorpion thrives at. Where's he going to get pushed from? One to the right, but Brian sees him, and Space Station will take map number 3, 6-4. They will be your victor.